My next guest is British royal author Clive Irving, whose new biography, The Last Queen, puts forward the theory that Queen Elizabeth II will be the last Queen of England, and by extension, I guess, the last Queen of Australia, although, of course, Neville Shute once wrote a brilliant book, In the Wet, that was based on the premise that Queen Elizabeth remained Queen of Australia even after the Poms had ditched her. But that's another story. Clive Irving's thesis is based on what he believes to be the total unsuitability of Prince Charles to ascend to the throne without driving the monarchy off a cliff. I'm afraid I share his concern. Over the past few years, Prince Charles has become increasingly political, and in particular, his involvement with the insidious Great Reset, this highly politicised globalist agenda from the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and God knows who else, to transform world economies and societies this year in line with the bonkers Fourth Industrial Revolution, is so incredibly toxic and political. I spoke with Clive Irving earlier today. Clive, thanks so much for joining us. I'm a constitutional monarchist, but I share your concerns, although possibly for different reasons, about not only Prince Charles, but his sons. Why, Clive, are you so concerned about Prince Charles?
Well, I think that if you were thinking of this as a rebranding exercise and you look at the stature of the Queen over 70 years of her reign, you can see that she's been impeccable. She's become one of the most revered figures in the world. In a very interesting and strange way, she's sort of ageless and timeless. It's not that she belongs to the 20th century or the 21st century. She's just there as a contemporary figure at whatever age she is. Whereas I think Prince Charles is looks like a throwback to the sort of 18th century Hanoverian princes. He's much more comfortable. His comfort zone is in sort of a refashioned 18th century world, which doesn't contain any of the things that he doesn't like, which includes anything basically modern architecture, for example.
The royal family, since they famously let the TV cameras back into the palace back in the 1960s, have had this strange relationship with the media. So supporters of Charles would argue that he is actually modernising the royal family, not a throwback. So explain, Clive, how you see him as a throwback to the kind of, I guess, the kings of the past.
Well, transparency is a double-edged sword. If you're transparent and reveal things that don't really work for you, then it's not a good idea. If you're transparent and openly discuss things which do service to the idea of the monarchy, then it's better. But I think that we know much more than we really comfortably would like to know about Charles's inner life. And he's basically... He likes to, this is not a good sign. Some of the hints of a tyrant king about him, and he likes to surround himself with sycophants. So he would build a court, a kind of echo chamber to reinforce his own views and exclude any countervailing views. And that's also an autocratic tendency, which I think is completely out of tune with the times.
He's, as I said before, he's kind of jumped onto the whole climate. He's always been a very environmental guy since the 70s, so it's not that this is something new for him. But what is new is he's kind of teamed up with very political bodies. So no one really cares what the Prince of Wales thinks about preserving the climate. But when he deliberately teams up with the likes of the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, the Greta Thunbergs, and any number of celebrities, he's playing a political role, isn't he? Isn't this a major threat to the monarchy?
Yeah, it's much too interventionist. I mean, he's entitled, obviously, to have his views on anything, and he's entitled to have discussions about those views privately. It's not a good idea to advertise his opinions and become a very loud megaphone on subjects on which his knowledge is very thin, actually, and it'd be far more discreet for him and much more in keeping and fitting to his mother's station as the monarch and his own future role as the heir if he kept those opinions privately.
We've seen how much damage Harry and Meghan have done by sort of becoming B-grade celebrities, charging around the world, doing movie deals and God knows what. You have said that you think Prince Charles will drive the monarchy off a cliff. In what way, and how do you envisage the first kind of year of Prince Charles' reign, which may not be that far away?
Well, the prospect of Charles III is pretty frightening, I think, because he's not a figure of the moment, whereas William and Kate have been very, they fitted into the family very, very well. They understand the system. I mean, if you're talking about Meghan and Harry, what about Prince Andrew? I mean, to me, Meghan and Harry are exemplary, contemporary, modern, progressive people. And I think by hooking up with Netflix, they will be using their celebrity power for good ends. Whereas Andrew, it's an interesting story about the relationship. Why does the Queen favour Andrew over Charles? I know this to be true. She's long favoured Andrew over Charles, and Charles has resented it for a very long time. So it came as a blessing to Charles when Andrew made that stupendously stupid interview with the BBC, and Charles was instrumental in sending Andrew to the Gulag. I think he did that with great relish. The trouble with Andrew is his libido and his brain became separated long ago. But they lost contact with each other. So he now caught up in this Jeffrey Epstein thing, all these honey traps that he guilelessly went into.
That's fascinating. Clive Irving, thanks so much. The Last Queen, so that's out now in Australia, and it's already gone into its second print. So just very, very quickly, do you see the British people basically rebelling against Charles, or do you think that politically he would just become so embarrassing that the government would have to ask him to move aside?
Well, you want a reinvigorating generational change, which he isn't. So I think that the polling shows that William is already at 40% favourable polling. Charles is down to 32. I think the millennials, anyone under 40, more and more are going to ask, with the Queen gone, certainly they would ask, what's the point of having this crew around anymore? They would have to justify their existence far more rigorously than they've had to so far.
Well, I guess, well, may we say, long live the Queen, Charles.
Indeed, indeed, yeah.
And let's keep it the Queen rather than Charles. Thanks so much, Clive Irving. That's great, and thanks for the book. See ya.
Thank you.